You are listening to session/episode 105 of Primordial Harmony, a retelling of the classic Elemental Evil story in the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse. My name is Mike, and tonight I'm joined by...
Hello, my name is Senna, and I'm playing Delia, the Gnome Wizard.
And I am Kitties, and I am playing the awesomest bard known as Hum.
Hey, I'm Miles. I'm playing the delinquent today as Adenab, Asmar Seeker.
Hey, I'm Nyx. I'm playing Vox. She's a changeling rogue.
Alright. When last we left the Excavators, Delia, Hum, Tadias, Vox, and Zachariel, with Lucy the Boulette and Rook the Snurfneblin, awakened to ascending from snow about Gordon's task force's change of plans in regards to meeting at the cult nexus. Right after Delia's tiny hut wore off, however, none other than Belnar Chanzal and two light eaters encroached on the Excavators' campsite. Belnar single-mindedly attacked Zachariel, and after a pitched battle, despite Vox landing a killing blow, the unmaking energy that was Belnar's body latched onto Zachariel and turned his body into his elemental essence, leaving all of his gear to fall to the floor of the cavern. Zachariel, ever the fighter, lashed back while being speared away, but not before manifesting his face and voice for one moment, telling the party to fight on without him. Suni Spade and the Targe of Torlir were threatened to be stolen away by the Ziggurats back in the cult nexus, with Zachariel's attunements broken. But Delia halted this process with the castings of two Dispel magic spells. Tadias would then reattune to Suni's Spade, which seemed to allow her to continue her grasp on her identity. Before they could fully react to this, Delia received a psychic message from the Amethyst Dragon Millidyras, demanding they bring Suni's to Forthstride. They agreed. And then Renwick sent her ascending, explaining that he had the Earth Carts, and that air cultists had apparently stirred up some trouble in Orborough. We return to the Excavators, beginning to hike back to Orborough in the morning of Flame Rule II. That timed pretty well. So you find yourselves in the same tunnel underneath the Mastrig Mountains that you've used to go back and forth a couple of times near the junction, where there's a tunnel that leads up and to the outside of the mountains, the way back, and the way down into the now defunct Earth Cult's lair.
Had we just woken up? I can't remember.
You woke up and had a fight.
Okay, well that makes a little bit more sense. I didn't remember using any of my charges in that fight, though.
I don't know if you did.
My chance chimes? I don't remember.
Yeah. I don't know if you did or not. Also, I forgot to open up the camera Roll20, so but that's okay. You guys can just roleplay as I do that.
Well, we're currently on the little, road back to Orborough, right?
Yeah. You're in that junction between the Earth Temple and the way back, and that tunnel that leads up to the surface in the same area.
I don't know how I feel about walking in this tunnel.
I thought Renwick was sending the carts back to us through the tunnel.
He is. I forgot to mention that in the recap. He said that he would do that, but you know that that is something that will take some hours. because of how long the drive takes from Orboro to here.
Should we walk to meet them? Do you think they'll stop?
I'm worried about them being found by something else. So perhaps it's best to start walking.
I'm worried we have no way of talking to the carts.
Renwick expressed that he would take care of that.
Well, I trust him this far. We should probably get going.
I'll follow after Delia.
I mount Lucy and ask Delia if she wants a ride.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll hop onto Lucy.
And then I ask Rook if he would like a ride.
Yes, please. And he clambers up on the back of Lucy.
Remind me again, who is Rook?
Rook
What is he?
He's a deep gnome. He's a gnome just like Delia and Hum, but his skin is gray. Here, let me show you a art of a deep gnome.
I give Lucy some wholehearted slaps.
She coos.
She's such a good bullet.
Deep gnome. I don't know if I want to say that Rook doesn't have the midsection of this guy, but he also doesn't have the musculature either. He's more lanky.
Okay, gotcha.
As lanky as a 3-foot person can be.
Yeah.
Or no.
Sorry, I guess the word I'm looking for is slim. He's more slim in musculature and fat. So, yeah, you start walking away from the site of that battle. And it's much slower goings than you're used to. Although you have once hiked this before, but just not back. And, yeah, some hours pass. Actually, I need to do a little calculation, but while I do that, why don't you guys talk about what you got at your level ups for Joy's benefit? We'll start with Delia, top to bottom.
All right, the most important thing is I traded out Minor Illusion, my cantrip, for Thunderclap. So now I can go around clapping people. And then I also got Immolation and Chain Lightning.
When I do my Exploit the Weakness ability, get an extra D8. And I also added Speak with Dead to my kit. So I can talk to corpses and stuff.
I think your guys' proficiency... Oh, sorry. Keep going.
I added a itsy bit of healing, and I also added Eye Bite, which gives me some things that I can do to people.
Mean, cruel things.
Yes, like put them to sleep or panic them or make them sick.
And I got no spells. Just reliable talent.
Don't underestimate how powerful reliable talent is. It's a wallop.
It doesn't seem like it.
What's your highest skill right now?
Dexterity.
Or sorry, like not your ability, your skill. Like a skill check, like acrobatics.
Right now would be investigation.
So what is the modifier for investigation? Should say the number right next to the skill.
10.
So you'll never ever roll below a 20 on investigation checks. Ever. You see the strength of reliable talent now.
It essentially means you don't roll dice, sort of. You roll the dice, but if you roll 10 or lower, it's always going to be 10.
And that goes for...
Everything you have a check mark next to.
Everything you're proficient in.
Oh my god, I thought it was only under like the saving throws?
No, it's
everything
the skills.
you have a check mark next to.
Okay,
The saving throws are actually the one thing you don't get.
Yeah, it's not the saving throws. It's everything that has... It's every skill that you have that check mark next to, yeah.
So for athletics, I've got 5.
So you'll always have a 15 athletics.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Also, cantrip dice got bumped up a level this time too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Which means Thunderclap does 3d6? Or 3d...
Yep.
Yeah, 3d6.
Firebolt does 3d10.
Crit Firebolt.
My sneak attack went up to 66.
Yeah. That is pretty brutal.
Mind Sliver just went up to 3d6 too.
Mm-hmm.
I still just hit things.
And,
Vicious Mockery is now 3d4. Woohoo!
and Mike's not even going to let us try out our abilities today because there's no fighting.
Well, I don't know, we'll see.
Could fight each other.
So,
No, because the wizard will win.
the wizard will just emulate and then move on.
That's if she can take us all out
It's true.
before her initiative.
Right?
That's
True
true.
enough. I do have Eye Bite, which would make her run away.
All I know is I'm losing.
I mean, you cast haste on yourself, you'd have a decent chance. So when
I
you-
feel like they would run me down.
Most likely. Although I meant Tadias casting haste on himself. Yeah, so when you guys get to this bend here, and you've been through here enough to sort of recognize the shape of the tunnel, and you kind of remember where you are. So when you get to about here, you start to hear the sound of stones grinding. And you hear it coming toward you from the darkness beyond your dark vision. And Rook just
We
kind of...
recognize this sound.
Rook tenses a little bit, looking toward the darkness, and you do start to recognize it as the same sound that the carts make as they roll across the lands, across earth and stone. And soon enough, entering the dark vision of most of you, you see 2 earth carts, and at first, you can't exactly tell what is between them. It looks like something... It looks like a bunch of staves that are set up between them. But then as it draws nearer, you resolve what you see, and it's a giant spider with long, spindly legs that are about as thick as Tadias's forearm. And the carts get up to like 10 feet in front of you, and then you see the spiders controlling the lever with 2 of its arms or legs, and then it stops. And then this big spider just pops or steps out, and it just moves toward Delia, and then takes one of its legs and pats her head, and then disappears into a puff of smoke.
What the fuck was that?
Oh, her boyfriend sent her a spider.
That was both exciting and terrifying.
Spider-gram.
And it even gave you a sign of affection. I see wedding bells in your future.
I'm not so sure about that.
Lich love. Yay!
Lich power couple. Well, you don't know about that, but you have your 2 earth elemental powered carts.
Tadias is gonna hop on one of them real fast.
I'm gonna hop on one too.
It has been about 6 hours of walking. Just FYI. So it's the afternoon of... Or not the afternoon, it's like... No, it's afternoon, technically. Of this day. What were you going to say?
I mean, for Vox and Tadias, it's been 6 hours of walking. I do believe that we were playing cards on Lucy's back.
It's true.
My buns are a little sore, though.
We can stand in the cart for a little while.
Stretch your legs. So you hop in the carts and you turn them around, and then you start heading back towards Orborough. And this whole process takes another 6 hours, and it's getting late in the day, and you can feel a little bit of weariness enter you as, despite not having to walk, having to be alert, and especially the 2 drivers, takes a bit of a toll on you. But eventually you emerge back where you set off the air bomb, the just decimated ruins of the Sacred Stone Monastery, and you exit right as twilight is ending, and the sun is sinking behind the horizon, as it's already behind the mountains. Or at least these hills that are here. Where do you go now?
I feel like we're going to travel back to Orborough.
Yeah, it's not too much further, so if we push the exhaustion, it's not going to be too bad once we get there.
He did say there was trouble. I'm not sure if we want to be going into Orborough.
What kind of trouble?
Didn't he say with the air cultists?
He said that I'm pretty sure he said he took care of it.
Oh.
And if I didn't, then I meant to say that. He said that they showed up, caused a bit of trouble, but he handled it.
Then yes, I agree. We should walk into Orborough.
Alright. Over the pathways between that cross over the hills here, where Orborough has most of its mining operations, with mines that are still active, as Orborough is still a town that exists and not a dead mining town. And yeah, you arrive back in Orborough. I have the map not archived. Yeah, here we go.
Did we see anyone by the mines?
What was that?
Did we see anyone by the mines?
No. The place is deserted. And it is after dark, so you would figure that any workers you see would probably be, or anybody that's working the mines would probably be back in town by now, as it is dark. of change the music. But as you roll back, some of the guardsmen wave hello, recognizing these earth carts. But one of them kind of warily raises their spear and shouts out, "Who goes there?"
It's just us.
And they squint a little bit. He says,
The excavators.
Do you have a light? Does anybody have a light shining currently? A torch.
I'll cast light on the cart.
Okay. You cast light on the cart, it illuminates everybody. Oh, okay. They nod and they open the gate and let you roll right on in. And one of the guards says, your mage friend wants to see you.
Thank you.
And then he shuts the gate. And you find yourselves within the walls of Warborough once again.
I remind Lucy because Zachariel's not here to warn me to take care of her. No eating anything anybody didn't give you. Do you understand me, Lucy?
And then she bumps her snout against you, which makes you step a little bit.
You're such a silly bullet.
You notice then that she kind of sets down on the cart and puts her stubby legs out and just kind of nestles her face in her hands, or not her hands, her forearms, forelegs.
Oh, she's so cute.
Starts to snore, and it sounds like gravel.
You should probably find Renwick before it gets too late.
Stars are starting to show up in the sky.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Let me see here. That's not the one I want, though. Alright, give me a second. So you head to Renwick's little hole in the ground that's bigger on the inside?
I think so. And I'll knock on the door.
Mikhail opens the door and sees everybody standing there with the light of the carts kind of illuminating you from the back, but a warm glow of candlelight and firelight spills onto you. He says, "Oh, come on in."
Thank you. I'll go inside.
Following after.
One second.
And I right behind.
I'm just setting up the scene dressing here. Yeah, I think everybody's here. Welcome back, Renwick says, in a whispery but friendly voice. I'm sure my familiar managed to get the carts to you without much trouble.
Oh, yes.
Good.
Tadias compares familiar sizes with him and Udarnik. Feels just a little bit like he's overcompensating, but either way.
How do you do that, like, in your head? Is that like a think bubble?
Kinda. I just kind of look at my, like, dragonfly and I look and I try to, like, remember how big the spider was.
He sees you kind of, like, moving your head around, like, you know, imagining the spider standing there and then looking up and then looking at Udarnik, and he says, I needed something large enough to control both at the same time.
Tadias shrugs.
Where is Zachariel? He looks around
taken.
the room. Taken? Oh, what do you mean, taken?
Hum tells him the story of how Zachariel disappeared.
I'll lay the shovel on the table for him to see.
He hefts his shoulders, taking a great sigh, and he says, oh, that certainly hurts our cause. But I suggest we follow his advice and fight on. And then he goes to one of the desks in this room. He opens a drawer and pulls out something long that's wrapped in cloth. And he says, I think you should take this away from this town. And he just unwraps a little bit, and clearly it's Windbane, the spear that you left with him. Two of the cultists of the Howling Hatred attempted to infiltrate town. They were close to killing the innkeeper. If I didn't intervene, they would have. They were looking for this.
Right.
And I would also advise...
We'll take it with us.
I would also advise that you don't use that tunnel again.
Yeah, we've been there quite a lot. They'll probably know that we've been there.
Luckily, all the other artifacts we're destroying shouldn't lead us that way.
Rook says, yeah, if there's another entrance to the Nexus, so should be able to get to where you need to go for the air cult through there anyway. And Mikal, who's been silent until now, says, and if you don't mind, I'd like a lift back to Forthstride.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you. He says, I've been working on a few things with Renwick, and I've hit a breakthrough. I want to share it with Survey. And I also want to see him again. He is my friend.
I do believe we're headed that way come morning.
He smiles.
What are we going to tell Floriana?
The truth, and hope it doesn't kill us.
She isn't going to kill us. Maybe. Well, she isn't going to kill me.
I'll tell her. temporary. We will fix this.
Poor little one.
Rook has never been to Forthstride. He, Are you talking about Zachariel's family?
Absolutely. He has a daughter named Ciara, and his wife's name is Floriana.
I think has he ever mentioned them while with Rook? No, he doesn't matter too much. He nods, his expression a little dark. Renwick says, "From the sounds of it, I agree with Rook." And Rook, when Hum was explaining what happened, Rook chimed in about how Zachariel, Zaman Rule's essence was so strong that it would take more than just what happened to destroy it. And Renwick sort of answers to that, and he says, "There's probably a way to recover him."
I'm imagining we can talk about it once we're at Forthstride.
He nods.
We've traveled quite far today. I want to rest.
He
Get my mind
nods and
straight.
he spreads his or he gestures to the room down here and says, "You're more than welcome to make use of this space."
Tadais is gonna like kind of throw his sack casually in the corner and then almost very carefully place the shield and the shovel kind of on top of it.
The shield. The shield doesn't have anybody attuned to it.
We only have one person that has proficiency.
Let's see. Oh, I didn't track them. What do you remember? What level Delia cast Dispel Magic on the shield?
I have 0 third level spells.
If it becomes an issue, I can say I
Probably
didn't
not.
do it as well.
Wait, Tadias has Dispel Magic?
No, I can say I attuned to it as well.
Oh,
I didn't have any magic items that had attunement beforehand, I don't think.
you have
I'm
Zephyr's...
actually missing.
Go on.
I'm actually missing a 5th level Dispel Magic slot, and I'm wondering if that's where that went.
Oh yeah, I see it. Zephyr has one.
I don't know if Rez does not. You have the Zephyr Belt and the Wind thing. Those are 2 items that are attunement. The Wind Armor.
Oh, the belt. Yeah. We'll just say that I unattuned to the wind armor for right now.
Okay. So you attune to the shield to keep it in possession. Okay.
Yes, it's magic.
Yeah, that is definitely a way you can do that. Okay. Then no problem. So you bed down for the night. I want to hear about our characters' internal worlds, because I think that's interesting. So let's just have a quick group therapy, starting with Delia.
Delia's feeling pretty insecure right now. She's used to being knowing what's going on all the time, and Zachariel getting taken and just all the stuff with the cult keeps throwing her for loops. So she's kind of reinforcing herself in her talents and practicing more with evocation spells to kind of help her through it.
Would you say that Delia has trouble sleeping, and she does that?
Yes.
We'll make a scene out of that in a little bit. But let's, if you're done, we'll move on to the next? I guess Hum.
Hum's struggling a little bit, when Zachariel was going to leave, she knew how important it was for him to stay, and she tried really hard to convince him. So now that he's actually gone and there's nothing she can do about it, she's just worried about the group and how they'll hold together. Not so much as a group, but Zachariel was kind of a meat shield for them. And she worries about how to keep the party from being wiped out, basically.
Okay. What about Vox?
She's also worried.
Go on, keep going.
She's also worried about the way that Floriana's going to handle this, and about Sihara and how hurt she's going to be when her daddy doesn't come home right away and she sees the rest of the party.
Okay. I'm just going through Vox's head.
Well, she is a little bit sad of what happened to Zachariel, but she didn't really have the connection that all you guys had with him because she came late.
Mm-hmm.
So even like any fallen member, yeah, she's sad about. But she knows we gotta press on.
Well, not necessarily about Zachariel, but like everything happening besides Zachariel being taken. Does she have any like thoughts about that? Anything that's like, at her, in her mind, digging at her? Or is she just kind of like, whoa, shit, dude?
Oh, she knows that'll be taken care of.
She's confident. Cool.
Yes.
Alright. Well, what about Tadias?
There's something about Tadias tonight that just feels like they haven't gone anywhere. They haven't made any progress, and they've only taken steps back. But then he takes a look and he sees Windbane and sees that it's there and there's only 3 more to go. He thinks really hard about Sihara and, what he's going to say. But he realizes the thing that he needs to do is he needs to promise her that we're going to stop what Zachariel was going to help us stop. That we are going to fulfill the destiny that we have ahead of us. And he tries to lay back and sleep in these thoughts, but he's just worried that he's not going to be strong enough to meet that challenge because of how long and how hard it was to just get rid of one of them. So he's just quietly worried and anxious, but trying to keep a stoic face about it.
Delia, as you're pouring through your arcane notes and experimenting, Renwick approaches, notices that you're having trouble getting to sleep, and he says, "Would you like to practice a little bit?"
Practice?
He says, "I can give you a space to bring all of your ability to bear, if you'd like. You seem to be having trouble sleeping."
I would love that. And she scribbles a few more things into her spell book.
Renwick takes on his disguised self to give him more expressive features, and he smiles, and he gestures for you to rise and follow him.
I hop up, carefully closing my spell book, and I follow him.
He walks through the sort of house that he's got here, and he leads you to a hallway that you hadn't seen before. And then in that hallway, there's a door. He enters that door with you, and you're led into what looks like to be this huge auditorium. Give me a second. A little bit happier music. And what it looks like is imagine a school gymnasium with a long room with windows high up near the ceiling, maybe about 100 feet tall, with plenty of space. And Renwick says, "Okay, show me what you have."
Well, are there any like dummies around? I don't want to like immolate him.
When Delia sort of looks around for something like that, he says, "Ah!" And he pulls out a wand from his belt, and he casts a spell, and a whole host of practice dummies appear that look like they're made out of some kind of gelatinous substance. Ballistics gel, but fantasy.
Alright, she's gonna let loose. She's gonna immolate one of them and try and melt it off the face of the planet. And she just unloads all her spell slots. And tries out Evard's Black Tentacles for the first time. And between like each spell, she's like flipping through her spell book and like taking notes and like writing down what happens to each dummy, and then she ends it with the chain lightning that bounces like between the dummies in like this giant purple sparkly arc. And her hair's kind of like sweaty and like matted to her face.
A little frizzy too.
Yeah. And she is like breathing heavy, and she just turns around, like cleans off her glasses and puts them back on her face.
Renwick gives Delia a little bit of applause.
I needed that.
We can't hear any of this, right?
I'm gonna say.
Well, there is. She does have like shatter. That's her only second level spell slot that's prepared. So I'd imagine they would hear it.
You hear some thumps. You hear some boom. Once or twice. But Renwick approaches Delia and says, "That was all very well done."
Thank you.
He says, you are definitely a road wizard. It's a term for wizards that advance in their ability quickly because of the trials they face. Most wizards only advance to another tier of spells every 5 years or so. But you've advanced far in the past couple 10 days.
It's the only way I can help people.
And you're doing it spectacularly. I'm impressed.
That means a lot.
He smiles.
Really.
Now, do you feel like you can get some rest?
Absolutely.
Good. And he snaps his fingers, and this gymnasium, the light sources inside just sort of start dimming from the end you're not in, and starts just going dark until it's back at the door, and he opens the door and leads you out, closes the door behind you too, and it disappears into the hall, and it just becomes the wall again.
That's really impressive.
I've had many years to practice.
Thank you. Good night, Renwick.
Good night, Delia.
And I'll retreat to my bedroll.
When she comes back to her bedroll, Hum kind of sits up and sees her sweaty hair and says, "What have you been up to?"
Delia just shrugs her shoulders and then rolls over.
Uh-huh. Lich love. And Hum giggles and goes back to sleep.
Would any...
Fox speaks out. Dun 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 dun.
Rook then sort of like shifts in his bedroll and says, "What's going on?"
Oh, nothing. Just a little lich love. Go back to sleep.
What? Okay. Anybody else like to do a scene before I transition?
Do we take 5?
Sure, let's take 5. We are returned. Yeah, so, calendar work. It is the 4th for GTF. I need to make sure I note that. And it is the morning of the 3rd for the Excavators in a hot second, as soon as I check something. Actually, hang on a second. Yeah, okay. Let me move the music. The morning of the 3rd day of the month of flame rule in Orborough, as the sun shines on the party. Well, not the party, but the outside of Orborough. Who wakes up?
Tadias is up pretty early getting his stuff ready.
Rook is also an early riser, getting his stuff together.
Delia is not.
Delia is not. That's true. She was up pretty late.
She's sleeping in.
Hum gets up, but she's moving slow. She's kind of tired still.
Don't forget to give yourselves long rests on your sheets, if you haven't already.
She walks up to Tadias and says, "Hey, Tadias, I'll come with you when we talk to Floriana and Sihara."
Thank you. It's not going to be easy, but it needs to be done.
At that point, you start to smell what smells like onions, garlic, cooking meat. And
Ooh, who's the cook?
you see a door that hadn't been visible before that looks like it leads into a kitchen. And you can hear what sounds like sizzling thing being cooked from that door.
Hum keeps sniffing as she walks through the door to see who's making food.
You see Renwick, not in his disguised self, so you see his skeletal form with very loose, tattered skin over his bones, cooking. He looks back at Hum and he says, I'm not Zachariel, but, well, I can give it a shot. I do have some amount of experience.
Well, it smells fantastic.
And there's a table. It's more like a picnic table with the 2 benches, and it looks like it's just enough for everybody. Enough space for everybody. Renwick is behind you, humming. Oh, it smells delicious.
Can I help in any way?
I'm just about done.
I could set the table.
Oh, sure. And then he
I'm really good at table setting.
he points to a stack of plates and silverware.
Hum puts out the plates and the silverware and says, do you have any napkins?
You look up at Renwick, who looks back at you with his skeletal eyes with like little points of light that denote his where his eyes would be looking, and he looks up and then down, and then reaches up into a cabinet and then pulls out a huge stack of napkins.
Hum does her best to fold them into little swans for everybody. What is that check?
What is that check? Something dexterity based. Performance dexterity? Maybe? Or maybe...
I'd
That's
imagine
charisma.
you make little Lucy's.
Maybe you sleight of hand?
Little Lucy's. Yeah, sleight of hand actually works pretty good too. Let's see. I mean, it's higher than a 10, so it works. Some of them are a little out of place, but they're definitely in the shape that you were looking for. Do you make little Lucy's,
Awesome.
or are they swans?
Oh, they have to be little bullets, so they look like little beetles, I guess, instead of swans.
Fantastic. All right. Delia, you're eventually roused by the smell of food.
I sit bleary-eyed at the table.
Renwick pours everyone tea. And sits down and just sort of... He doesn't have to eat, so he just sort of sits down. And he says bon appetit, but it's Elvish.
So what are we eating today?
It is, it's a slew of over easy eggs with breakfast sausage cooked in home fries, peppers, onions, and garlic, seasoning the potatoes. There's even a hot sauce on the table. And
Delia's after that hot sauce.
And it says, Spice Daddy number 4.
Spice Daddy, huh?
Tadias is going to take a few bites of the food and at the same time, like, pull out a map and begin working on it, marking the spots where they're going to be traveling to.
Hum hits him with her napkin and says, "No maps at the table."
You're not my mother.
I'll tell your mom.
Go ahead. I've been eating off bar counters my entire life.
You're so oppositionally defiant.
And you love me for it.
He says, marking again in his map.
What does that look like?
Typically, I was looking at the Nerthal Woods because we were talking about that being the hub and the nexus, and wondering if it's going to be faster, probably traveling that way to get to the Sky Peaks. The next one.
Do we know about Forthstride having the rivers going over the borders and then Roland being flooded?
You must, because Snow has sending to you guys about the change of plans. So you must know that something is amiss. I don't remember what the sending was, though. It's been a while. And I didn't review the footage before tonight.
Well, I'm hoping those rivers don't go too far off the banks.
Mikal says, "The Tudera River? What's going on with the Tudera River?"
Well, we got a sending from the other party that we're working with, and they said that the rivers were flooded in Forthstride, and they were going to go to Roland to get to one of Gordon's people, instead of going to the Nerthal Woods where the bad guys were.
That's not... Well, I suppose that's not too bad. It's just flooding the fields a bit.
That's what we're hoping.
And then he takes a couple of bites of food.
What part of Forthstride are you from, Mikhail?
He says, I need to look at the map. He says, I grew up on Crucible Street. My father owned a workshop there. And then he partnered with...
Nice.
And then he partnered with a halfling. And his son and mine became good friends, and, well, that's who Servi is. And then I spent some time studying at Akka. And then he and I founded Elemental Arms.
Nice.
We're the ones that came up with the rosin.
Well, you're one of my favorite people then.
He smiles. Actually, that's one of the breakthroughs I made while working with Renwick. He says, I hope to be able to put something together with it. Maybe it'll help you.
I like the sound of that.
It'll probably... And then he looks at... He looks up, and then he blinks for a second, and his shoulders kind of slump a bit. But then he looks at Tadias, and he says, it'll probably help you the most. Since you seem to be in the thick of it.
Goes in her pack, and she hands him the 4 that she has left. She says, we still have some of these. We picked them up along the way.
Are they...
There's 1 fire,
okay,
2 cold, and 1 acid.
Ones. He says, oh, this makes things a little easier. I can use these. I can, what's the word I'm looking for? I can salvage the components in these and make newer, better ones. Ones that aren't unstable, mind you.
Well, I'm glad we could help.
He smiles and then takes another bite of food.
When will that take?
Well, with this, since I have the components, it should only take about a few hours of work, some time in the crucible, some of my own magic power, and game-wise, he's referring to spell slots. As he's chewing food, says, "I hope I can make something good for you. Then we can put down those cults faster."
Sounds fantastic. You know, both Vox and Tadias probably could get a lot of use out of that.
He looks
I
at
find myself leaning more to the magic, though.
He looked toward Tadias and Vox as Hum said that, and then looks back at her and nods.
Tadias finishes up and begins cleaning his plates and stuff like that, just trying to grab a few of them. Looking for a sink. Or a wash basin.
Renwick sees you doing that and says, "Worry not about that. All of this plateware was conjured anyway. The sooner you get on the road now, the better."
Agreed.
He puts his little stack back on the table.
You wouldn't know of any rock piles around that I might be able to feed Lucy through.
He says, "Aside from what they have in the warehouse, I don't. But I assume if you were to purchase some of the more precious minerals, they'd be happy to take care of you."
Yeah, I'm gonna go wander and get Lucy some food. I'm sure she's hungry by now.
He
I mean,
nods.
we're in Orborough. I think you can do it.
You certainly can. And does not just doing something here.
I'm gonna gather my things and go with her.
Okay. Orborough. So yeah, Renwick is around here. So you exit, and it's a nice sunny day. Very warm already as it is summer. And Hum and Delia head to the warehouse where they hold ores and minerals for later processing and selling. And you ask around and you find the person who's in charge of the warehouse. And never really got into this person, so let's make an NPC real quick. It is a man named Marion Thompson. And human with dark brown hair and green eyes, and he sort of, when you finally approach him, he has his arms crossed and he's got kind of a dour look on his face and says, what can I do for you?
I am hoping that you might have some rough rock or minerals that you may be willing to sell so I can feed my bullet, who has been so helpful in getting rid of the cultists around us that have been coming around.
I've heard. I know. You want to buy some unprocessed ore?
I do.
Let's see. You guys have done right by us. Many times. He walks into the warehouse and then he comes out with a small box that rattles as he sets it down. And he puts it down on the chair so that you two can look in, and you see 3 round rocks. And then
how much you want for your rocks?
Well, before you balk at the price, allow me to. He takes one, he sets it on the bench that he's using as his desk, and he takes a hammer and just strikes it, and it cracks in half, and it reveals a geode of glittering blue sapphire. He says, 20 gold for the lot.
You got it, mister.
He nods. Money is exchanged. Thank you for your business.
Thank you.
Say,
So I pick up the other 2 rocks, but I pick them all up and I look at Delia and say, did you see this one?
Yes, I did.
We are not feeding this to Lucy.
No, we can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something, sir?
He blinks, shakes his head, shrugs, and then says, we won't be seeing any more of those culty types in town anymore, do you think? Do you think?
I want to say no, but we're doing our best.
Because Crad almost got the end of a knife the other night.
Oh no, is he okay?
He's fine, he's fine. Your mage friend who has taken that small shed was there to sort of, well, as I hear it, he dissuaded them, and they're not around anymore, as you might say. Crad's fine.
Well, we're doing our best, sir. We've defeated a whole bunch of them, but we just don't know what draws them near to these places. We're going to try our best to make sure they never come back.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
And you as well.
I walk out and give Delia the pretty sapphire geode, and I say to her, let's not open these other 2 and just feed them to her, because I have a feeling they're really pretty inside too.
That's a good idea.
Oh, you now have...
And we'll keep the pretty rocks.
You have 2 halves of a geode with sapphire inside.
Though it did look pretty fun breaking them open. You're right.
No, if we look at these, we're going to keep them. And then Lucy will look sad. Let's just feed them to her.
What?
So we throw the other 2 at Lucy,
When you get there,
when we
okay.
walk out. Yeah.
Lucy smells them and gives a happy "Rah!" and picks one up with like the tip of her beak snout, and then puts it a little bit to the side, and you hear it crack, crack, crunch. And then Lucy opens her mouth just enough so that you can see the beautiful purple amethyst just start to crunch in her maw, just start to turn to dust as she chews it. And then she goes for the other one and picks it up, does the same. And this time you see what looks like a beautiful rainbow sparkly color as she just grinds it to dust, eating it.
I kind of like clutch at my chest and turn away.
Aren't you glad we didn't keep them?
I'm
We
so
wouldn't have fed
glad.
any of them to her.
We're
Don't tell her about the
Like
ones
a
in her
little
pocket.
pond.
I think you forgot one.
and Lucy like smelling with the two. You see her nostrils on the top of her snout flare, and she gets close to Hum and like pushes her, nudges her a little bit.
I gave you 2. Hum pulls the one out of her pocket and closes her eyes and gives it to Lucy.
And Lucy gently takes it from her hand and then crunch, crunch.
Delia kind of pouts for a second and then gives Lucy the other half.
Crunch, crunch, and then Lucy nudges the both of you affectionately.
I wonder if we could go back and con him out of a couple more of those geodes.
You get the impression that it was priced like it was because it was unprocessed.
Right.
Were Vox and Tadias doing anything while that exchange was happening? Or are you just getting ready to go?
No, I'm just prepping to leave.
Okay.
Yeah, just getting ready to go.
Okay. So it's I'll say it's probably around 10 a.m. At this point, maybe 10:30. You hop onto the earth carts and you start making your way through the Shilch Road towards Forthstride. And that trip takes, I think I worked it out that it was like just a day's worth of travel because of the speed. Yeah, day's worth of travel. So when you get to Forthstride, and you're not bugged on the way, there are no cult attacks and no accostaments. And as you approach Forthstride, the sight you see is the farmland near the rivers are dug up, and there are these mounds that are in the pathways between different fields that have crops. And there's a few folk about that look like farmers, and you also see militiamen and way shields working in concert, defending the town. And by
Does
defending
anybody else feel like it was weird that we didn't get attacked by anything on this time?
this
Yeah,
whole
it is a little strange.
And I do want to mention, too, that this whole time, Rook had been shading his eyes. It is much, much brighter out here in the daytime. Wow.
Sit under Lucy, it's better.
He then does that and kind of like... He ends up, for most of the ride, he ends up on his back, like looking through Lucy's legs out to the countryside under the shade. But yeah, back to Forthstride and the farmland. You notice that, and you start nearing the area, and you get waves from way shields and militia alike as they recognize you for all the help you've done. And as you pass by the spires of limestone that surround the city,
did we go by Zachariel's place
yeah, you would have passed by Zachariel's place. There's nobody there.
and saw it was empty?
Yeah. You are in the know that Floriana and Sihara are staying at Gordon's place until the outskirts are a little bit more well secured. But at this point, Delia, you get another familiar tingle through your brain, and you sort of recognize the touch of Millidyras, having experienced it a couple times, and you get this message from her. I am at the Arcane University, in the library, and there's this, your sort of vision in your mind's eye is that of entering the library, walking through some bookshelves, hanging a right, and then walking through some more nearby some more bookshelves, and then a small alcove to the left with a table. Do not delay.
I will send back we will be there as soon as we can. There's something we need to take care of first.
And you hear back, do not keep me waiting longer than I have to.
I send her like a mental thumbs up. You got it. Guys, I'm really scared.
Oh, yeah?
What's wrong?
Millidyras just sent another couple of sendings. And she's here at the college.
Maybe we handle that first. She seems a lot more scary than Floriana.
So entering Forthstride again, you notice the flooded banks. And you do navigate around everything. And just what's the first blush of actually, I want to know how everyone reacts when they realize it's seawater, salt water. So I guess Mikhail would kind of like notice the flooding and then kind of, and then lean over the side of the cart and put his finger into the water and then, this is salt water.
That's probably
In
not good.
river?
Oh, that explains why the crops were uprooted and moved. And then he just has this very concerned look on his face as you guys keep navigating the carts. But eventually you make it to Akka. So who's all going to Akka for this? Is everybody, or?
I really don't think we should split up.
You're not going alone.
I agree.
All together.
Okay. Give me a second. So you guys walk into Akka, and the good news is Akka is back to it seems like it's back to normal. All of the students are still kind of like, while exams may be canceled, students are still curious enough to peruse the halls, attend lectures, and research at the library. At least some of them. Not all of them. And Delia can tell that the place is much less... There's much less activity here than there would be if exams were still on. So Delia leads everyone to the library, and in the direction that she sort of had that imprint of. And you arrive at that little study nook. And sitting at a chair at a table. And to describe this, imagine a alcove where there's a table with 4 chairs, 2 on each side, and the table looks like it's big enough to lay out a whole bunch of books and stuff. When you get there, you see a tall, beautiful half-elven woman with drow parentage sitting at the table. She wears a purple blouse, and her hair is a stark black except for a part that glimmers with a purple highlight. She has a septum piercing with amethyst studs. She sees the 4 of you and actually, I need to ask, where do you guys send Lucy?
Yeah, that's a good question.
This is the first time you're ending Forthstride with Lucy. Hold on, I gotta roll back. Roll back the tape. There's definitely an interaction with a militiaman who sees Lucy and is like, "What is that?"
It's my pet.
Your pet?
Yeah, it's like a horse, only not a horse.
It looks like a rhinoceros mixed with a shark.
It's a Lucy.
Lucy then just kind of like stands up straight on the top of the cart and shakes its body a little bit, and then says, "Ah!" And then
Steve?
the militiaman kind of backs up a step.
She's completely trained. Watch. Lucy, sit.
Oh wait, no! And then she sits on Rook, who is still laying beneath her.
Lucy, get off the deep gnome.
She stands up, and then Rook just scrambles out from underneath her. Oh, warn me before you do that.
Sorry. See, she's completely trained.
And then the militiaman says, "Sir, are you alright?" And then and then Rook
He
just
only
kind of
speaks
cocks his head.
gnomish.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak gnomish.
He says he's A-okay.
Alright, well, just... I'll let Colonel Blaze know so that some of our more jumpy guys don't overreact. Go on.
Thank you.
Where are we going to put the cots and Lucy? I imagine you can't bring them into that, the arcane school, says Rook.
No, but we could always put them at the bike rack and then have Lucy guard the carts. I doubt anybody's going to try to take a cart from Lucy.
All right. So, eventually, yes, you do that. We'll return back to the scene with Millidyras.
I feel like Hum tacks a little note to the front of Lucy that says, "Hi, my name is Lucy, and I belong to Hum. Don't be afraid. Please do not touch."
All right. She does that. And I imagine that she could literally pin it to Lucy's hide and she wouldn't mind. Because that's just how thick her bullet skin is.
Lucy's wearing stuff, isn't she?
Oh yeah,
We did steal tack.
Well, isn't she wearing like she's wearing the ribbon, but
Like
we also took some tack off of the bullets that we killed in the dungeon we were in.
tack?
Whatever
saddle?
they wear.
Oh, like their saddles. Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
You can pin it to the leather of that if you'd wish to. That works. Okay. So you do that. You get some stairs. There's a little conversation had with a militiaman around Akka. But he also knows of you guys at this point. So he's just like, oh, okay, just blah, blah, blah. And then eventually you're inside, and we'll go back to that scene with Millidyras, and yeah, she's staring at you, the five of you, because Rook is there, and she cocks her head and says, "And where is that reincarnation of Zaman Rule?"
Well, see, what happened was...
He will be unable to join us right now.
But isn't he the one that is attuned to the item that contains Suni's soul?
I produce Suni from my bag.
You'll be talking to me.
Oh, alright. Well then, Tadias, she gestures to a chair. Have a seat. And place Suni's on the table.
I don't break eye contact with her. And I walk slowly to the table and sit very slowly down. And put Suni just on the edge of it, right close to my reach.
Oh no, you need to hold on to... You'll need to hold on to the spade.
I'll grab it.
She then offers her hand. And she says, "Contact between us will make this process much less straining for both of us, Tadias."
Right.
I reach up and grab her hand. I'm not happy about it.
She smiles, and then suddenly there's this connection, and Tadias, you sort of feel like there is a flow of just this cognitive waves energy flowing through you, and your brain starts to sort of contextualize it as Millidyras and Suni's speaking face to face, because for some reason that's the only way you can make sense of it. And Millidyras reintroduces herself to Suni, and they start speaking, and Suni's being aware of what's going on. She says, "Well, it will take a while to explain, unfortunately. If we are to do this, it may take a few hours." Are you alright with that, Jedias?
What is the goal? What do we have to go over that takes this long?
It's a bit complicated how everything that Millidyras wants to know works. And unfortunately, with the state I'm in, you'll be serving as my conduit to speak with her, unless you wish to repeat everything I tell you verbatim.
I warned the party that it could take a while.
It's all right. We'll wait.
Grab a book, I guess.
Gladly.
Let's get done with it.
Alright. So, 4 hours pass. And Tadias, you're learning extremely convoluted, complicated concepts about the intersection between what you know of the natural world and of the weave, the arcane weave, and how they intersect at certain points, and how cognitive ability can arise from what's the word I'm looking for? From the crystalline structure of minerals, and how just the slightest impurities that give it the color it has changes aspects of the cognitive ability, and you learn it in such or you may or may not learn it, but it's like sitting at a seminar and just having a professor. Sunis isn't the best, or rather, Sunis isn't the most engaging professor. She explains everything, and Millidyras is clearly interested. She's clearly engaged, but this isn't the kind of lecture that any layperson would want to attend and listen to for the fact, or because the teacher's fun to listen to. It drones on and on for Tadias. But about 4 hours later, Sunis concludes, and your brain is almost mush with the amount of packed information. But you see Millidyras smiling brightly, and she lets go of Tadias' hand and says, "Well, thank you very much. I will not bother you again."
That'll be the day.
Oh, don't be so, what's the word? What's the word for that?
You've been in my
Melodramatic.
head for 4 hours. You can probably understand that I'm not in the most cheery of moods. We've done our deal. Goodbye. He stands up and takes the shovel.
Millidyras looks to Hum and says, he's very grumpy.
All the time.
Well, good luck with that, and good luck with all of the to-do about, all the to-do about, Tharizdun, and all of his doings.
Who's theirs, dude?
You know who Tharizdun is. Hum knows.
Do I?
I'm pretty sure everybody's heard his name by now. Did Tadias share that information that Safnir gave him to the party?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she knows who Tharizdun is. Tharizdun is this ancient evil that is behind, or rather influences the elemental cults to doing what they do.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Well, thanks for that, and if we don't ever see you again, have a great life.
I appreciate the sentiment. And then her visage wavers a little bit, and you can sort of perceive her true form, as she gets up and, with a surprising swiftness, heads out of the study nook, down the library shelves, and out of sight.
Hum looks over at Delia and says, I wonder how many of these people realized they were in a room with a dragon.
Well, maybe a few.
Well, let's go get Lucy. I'm sure she's up to no good by now.
4 hours is a long while.
When you leave Aka and you're back outside, you see Lucy is surrounded by a pile of masoned rocks, rubble from the troubles that Forthstride had been in, and she's just gnawing on one of them.
Where did the rocks come from, Lucy?
She looks up and then kind of like shuffles back a little bit and then kind of gathers the rocks around her.
Are those Lucy's rocks?
They are Lucy's rocks. There's a militiaman that walks by.
Ah, have you guys been bringing her rocks?
Well, she started tearing up the pavement, so we assumed that she wanted rocks. So we took some from the rubble piles and gave them to her. It seemed to quell her.
Yeah, Lucy is a boulette. We fed her this morning, but I guess she was still hungry.
We'll make sure she doesn't tear up the town more than it already is.
Psh, she's not gonna.
How would you do that? And he says that, like,
at least we'll be here to protect the town.
He says, I can accept that.
Thanks, guys.
And Lucy starts to, like, walk to Hum and just kind of is near her and makes to follow wherever she goes.
And so Hum starts explaining to Lucy that she can't eat pavement or sidewalks.
She seems to understand as far as Hum can tell, but there's a little bit of uncertainty. Hum's not entirely sure. It is now the late afternoon. The sun is low in the sky, and you know that sundown is probably in an hour or so. It's late.
Let's go and introduce Sihara to Lucy. I think she's gonna love her.
The first good thing that happens today.
I don't know. Hearing the dragons never coming back was a pretty great thing.
When have we ever believed her?
I mean, she seems of her word.
So you head to Market Avenue and up to the Wayshield headquarters.
I'm sure drawing oohs and ahs the whole way with Lucy in the cards.
You are drawing stairs for sure. One person tries to come up to you, but then their parent just draws them back, shaking their head. You hear a small, disappointment. But eventually you make it to the Wayshield headquarters. And there is, you see Gordon on the porch, and his eyes flash with recognition, and he puts a smile on and he says, "Welcome back. Welcome back."
Good to be back.
I see we've
Thanks.
recovered more than just one of those devices then. He says, the task force has brought one here as well. It's in the back behind HQ. And then he sort of sweeps his head around and... Where's Zachariel?
See, well, here's the thing.
Where is Floriana and Ciara?
His shoulders slump a bit and he says, oh no.
He's not dead,
Then he cocks an eyebrow.
but we have to talk.
Well, maybe it's best if you come on inside.
Is there someplace where I can pull my bullet?
Do you think your bullets will frighten frighten horses?
Depends on how spooky your horses are.
Oh, follow me. And he'll lead Hum to. Let me get my arrow pointer. He'll lead Hum to around here. And there's like a gate that looks like it just been mended. And he leads the carts and Lucy into the back here. This little corral for horses.
Do you got a pile of rubble anywhere?
He then looks in this direction toward Copper Parkway, where one of the buildings were demolished. Probably find some over there.
Hum takes one of the carts and goes and fills it up. You know, just enough, like 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
Brings it back and dumps it over in front of Lucy.
All right. During this time, Gordon had been getting Floriana and Sihara and bringing you guys to his meeting room inside the Wayshield headquarters. I think I archived that. Let me unarchive it real quick. Oh, I forgot what I called it. It's not good. Shoot. Shoot. Where is it? Chalkboard. Oh, it's right here. Okay. 1 second. Oh, I'm not selecting. Whoa, hold on. Whoa! Okay. Nope. Stop. I'm trying to not scroll, but Roll20 really... Okay, there we go. Don't I have a token for Sihara? Okay, hold on a sec. Not the shoot. There's art for her. Where the fuck did it go? That's gonna bug me. Alright, give me a second. or a few minutes. That's weird. Oh, okay. Alright, no problem. Okay. You eventually all end up in the meeting room, Gordon with Sihara and Floriana.
So, Ciara,
Maybe we should talk to Floriana first.
wouldn't it be better to let Floriana do the talking? I was thinking we could go distract her with Lucy.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, well then that can take place before everyone's gathered in the meeting hall, so,
Hum takes Sihara and says, "You want to see my new pet?
Ooh, yeah!
She's so much fun. Let's go."
So the two of them head out to, I'm just gonna GM later. Head out to where Lucy is. And, we can play that out after this exchange. So, they leave the room. Floriana looks at Tadias Gordon with concern in her eyes. Are you going to tell me that my husband is dead?
I have no intention, because that is not the truth.
You see a burden sort of lift from her. And what's going on? Where is he?
Chonzal has taken them.
Gordon and Floriana's eyes both kind of widen at that. Taken him? What do you mean?
We were attacked by him. His presence, the darkness, it in some way ensnared and captured Zachariel. We couldn't get to him in time and he disappeared. Vanished. We believe he's holding him hostage.
Floriana sort of takes her hand and she steadies herself on the table, and Gordon crosses his arms and kind of narrows his eyes, not at anyone in particular, but just at the situation. And then Floriana sort of gains her composure. She looks at Tadias and she says, "Is there... Do you think you'll be able to get him back?"
I do. The reality is the cults, they're dangerous, and we have been fighting them and fighting them. Chanzal will attack us again. He needs Zachariel alive. He's more useful to him that way. And Zachariel is not really a normal person. I don't believe Chanzal could destroy him even if he tried.
Floriana is pale at this point, but she sort of nods at that.
The situation is dire, and I will not pretend it isn't. But there is a destiny for us, and Zachariel will return to you. Or I'm going to die trying to bring him back.
She looks at Tadias and then passes a look at Vox and Delia. And then looks at Gordon. And you can see her eyes are starting to well with tears. And she blinks and then takes her wrist and wipes away some of the tears before they can fall. And she says, "Okay, I'll trust you. You all have done more for us in the past year than I could have ever expected from anyone. I will..." Oh, she looks at Gordon. And then back at the rest of you and says, "What am I going to tell Sihara?" She takes her hand and puts it over her mouth. And then she does the thing where she rests her elbow on her other hand. And her body kind of shrinks and tenses up a bit. And she just silently looks forward. Meanwhile,
Peeks her head back in the office really quick to check and see what's going on, and sees it's still going on, so she stays out with Sierra.
Yeah, meanwhile, back in time a little bit, Hum leads Sihara out. And she's the same height as Sihara, or pretty close. So it looks like just a couple of kids walking out into this backyard of sorts. And there's a couple of horses that are tied to a makeshift stable. And then there's Lucy gnawing on rocks. And Sihara says, "What's that?"
That is a bullet. And that's my friend Lucy. Watch this. Hey, Lucy, come here.
Rock. Tromp, 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 tromp.
Watch. This is so fun, Sierra. Lucy, sit. You want to take a ride around the backyard?
Yes! And then she reaches forward and she starts, like, petting Lucy. But then Lucy draws back and recoils.
Oh, no. Lucy likes hits. So you gotta slap her real good. Real good. And she shows her how.
At first, when Lucy recoils, Sihara, like, looks upset. But then when Hum explains, her eyes kind of brighten. And when Hum shows her how, Sihara just, like, takes her fist and just, like, hits Lucy as hard as she can, and it makes this thumping noise. And Lucy is just Lucy is just loving it, just making all kinds of coos and sounds, and then she nuzzles Sihara, and then, like, does the thing where she sort of her beak kind of takes Sihara and, like, flips her onto her snout and then onto her back. And Sihara's giggling the whole time.
You can ride her as fast as you want, but be careful because she can dig into the ground.
Whoa. And then she smacks Lucy and says, "Go into the ground." And then
No, Lucy, no.
Lucy has, like, already made a huge gash in the ground, but then looks at Hum.
We definitely have to get permission from your mom before you can let Lucy go into the ground, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then she just starts riding.
You know what
Lucy
else we
around the
could do
yard.
with Lucy?
What?
We can throw rocks in her mouth and she eats them.
That's so cool.
Come on, let's go over the rocks and we'll throw them in her mouth and watch her crush them up.
And she hops off and walks over to that rock pile, and she pulls out one that she can throw, and she hefts it, and Lucy catches it and crunch. And Sierra's giggling and all excited.
Isn't she the best?
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna live with us.
Oh my goodness. Will she be friends with oh shoot, the dog? Coco? No, that's the name of the grandma.
Dante?
Dante. Will she be friends with Dante?
Well, we'll have to see.
Oh no, but
She won't eat him though. She only eats rocks.
but she might eat Pebble.
We'll teach her not to.
Okay.
We will teach her Pebble is friends, not food.
Okay. And then Sierra takes some more time tossing stones into Lucy's mouth, giving Hum that opportunity to check on things. And it's a tense scene with Floriana just standing and leaning against the table with her hand over her mouth. Eventually, Gordon grabs a chair and helps Floriana into it. And that's when the crying starts. She just softly cries in her chair, and Gordon does what he can to comfort her. What are you guys doing?
Hum peeks in again, leaving Lucy to babysit. She comes and she puts her hand on Floriana's back and she says, Floriana, I'm so sorry we didn't bring Zachariel back with us this time. But I want you to hear me, and I want you to hear me well. We are not coming home without him. We will bring your husband back to you. I promise. We've been talking to Renwick, and he believes there's a way we can pull him back. We're already working on it, and we'll never stop until he comes back.
She blinks through the tears and nods. And it's at that point where Gordon's assistant, sort of administrative assistant, peeks his head through the door and says, I'm not interrupting anything, am I? Oh, I guess I am. There's somebody at the door that wants to see you. And then he says, and I mean you guys, excavators.
I need to go pull Sierra away from Lucy.
Gordon says, I'll stay here with Floriana. Why don't you see who needs you?
Fox passes Gordon. She's gonna just ask him how he's doing.
I am missing everything you're saying. Please repeat.
When Vox leaves, she's gonna pass Gordon and just ask how he's doing, because she knows that Gordon and
He looks at Vox and he says, I'm a little shaken. I do have some faith in my friend, though. He's been through tough things before, I feel certain that he'll be able to come back to us from this.
Of course, Zachariel, he's deaf. He'll be back.
He nods. What's Tadias doing? What's Delia doing?
Delia is gladly taking the opportunity to kind of quietly leave the room.
Tadias is falling behind, but a little bit sluggishly, slowly. Looks back to Floriana once before leaving the room.
Hum comes back and leads Sihara to Floriana and says, "Mommy needs big hugs. It's been a rough day."
Okay. Hey, where's my dad? And you see Floriana visibly hitch.
He's still out working. You can talk to Mama about that, okay?
Oh, okay. She goes up to Floriana and hugs around her knees. And then Floriana leans over and kind of places her arms around her back and just kind of hugs her from that seated position. The rest of you head for the front door, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good for it.
So, the young man leads you to the front door, and outside, standing on the porch near the door, is a white dragonborn. And for a moment, shock runs through your system, but no, it's not Belnar Chanzal. It's his son, Kalazan. Hi there.
Hum puts her hand on her dagger. Says hi.
He sees her do that, and he says, "You've come across my father, haven't you?"
Yeah. Let's sit down and talk.
I think that's a good idea.
But not here.
Okay. I'm at your disposal. I want to know what's going on with my father, and what you've seen.
Hum leans him down, hopefully with everybody else.
Yes.
Falling behind.
Yep.
Where are you guys going?
I'm thinking maybe a bar with a quiet nook.
Okay. Open bars are at a premium. Let me think about that for just a moment.
A restaurant will work as well as long as there's ale.
Okay. Yes. A similar... Maybe for fun we can say that the excavators end up at the same place that GTF was at the night before. And you find a seat at the hole in the wall, and maybe you get some food, and there is a little bit of ale. Mostly, if you could have a standard ale, this is it. Just enough to get you a little warmed up.
Hum starts out just warning Kalazan, it's not good.
I didn't expect it to be good.
He's taken up with the cults. We're not understanding quite what's going on, but he is quite powerful. And he has taken Zachariel hostage.
He furrows his brow, and then he taken him hostage. What? So, are you saying that if you were to try to engage him, he would hurt or kill him?
He's already tried to hurt or kill all of us.
His eyes kind of go wide at that. Well, were you able to defeat him?
He's quite powerful.
It doesn't really die.
Oh.
What do you know about what was going on in your home before he left?
He says the few 10 days before this happened, before the gnolls came, his demeanor started changing. He said things that didn't make much sense. Just cryptic nonsense. And I thought that his job was just starting to get to him. And I think I told you before that before he ended up leaving, he told me to stay away from Akka. Then he looks at Delia.
She looks a little surprised. Away from Akka.
Well, you remember what happened.
Oh, right.
With all of the, with his cultists taking the teachers and using their power.
Kazakhstan, we don't know how this is going to end. I don't know if I'm going to be able to give you your dad back.
Well, that's part of why I approached you. You're going back to where he is, right?
For your safety, I'm not going to tell you where we're going.
I want to go with you.
Hum looks at Tadias really wary, like, Kazakhstan, I don't know if that's a good idea.
He says, I want to confront him. And I know that something has taken his mind from him or something, but I need to hear it for myself. And
That's not your dad. That is no longer your dad.
And what happens if we kill him in front of your eyes?
I accept that, he says.
What if a cultist kills you before you get the opportunity? We can't babysit.
That is a risk I'm willing to take, and I have magic that I can use to defend myself.
But sometimes magic's not enough.
He says, it's not too difficult to hide with magic. And then, well, actually, Rook can't answer to that because he doesn't know what Kalzan's saying. Is anyone translating for Rook out of curiosity?
I
I will.
Okay. As soon as Delia translates that line, Rook kind of nods and says, yeah, I do that all the time. With my own little racial ability.
And Hum looks at him and says, but your father isn't in the room. We don't know the reaction he's going to have having his father in the room, and we're throwing magic at him. We're throwing weapons at him.
Delia nods.
How How did he take Zachariel? What happened? I can't fathom, with everything that you all have done, I can't fathom someone just dragging Zachariel away.
Listen, you are not aware of the situation as we are, which is why we are so worried about this proposition.
Perhaps I can help. Was it with magic?
Calixan, Delia here is a wizard. She oftentimes is in the middle of that fight. I understand you love magic and you think that magic is the answer. I'm not questioning your magical abilities. What I'm questioning right now is if in the thick of it, when your dad is being pelted by spells and weapons and arrows and everything we have so we can stop him, if you're going to be okay with that, I can't take the risk of you turning on us because that is your dad, and I know I couldn't do it in a battle.
Calazan has this look on his face, is very angry. It's like, it's not just anger, it's this shame on his face.
Let me ask you a question, Calazan. What do you feel for your father right now after what he's done?
He's not the man who raised me. And I know that. I know it in my head and in my heart, but I need to confront him. And then he sort of lets out a breath and says, but I can understand your misgivings, your apprehension.
Let me ask you a question. Down deep inside, what do you feel for your father? At the core of your being, what do you feel for your father?
He chokes a little bit on that word, and then he says, my dad. He's my father.
Right, and I want you to remember him as that man and not the one we're seeing. Do you understand?
His eyes sort of flash a little bit, and like he's just running through a bunch of emotions at once, and everybody, you all can just see how he's almost shaking with that. And eventually he takes a long breath and he says, yes, I do.
And you understand I don't want you to follow us either?
I understand that you don't want me to follow you.
And you won't, right? Because you're a man of your word.
He's quiet for a long time.
I need you to answer me.
I won't follow you.
Should we insight check that?
You may. Uh-oh. No. Did you have to refresh, Miles?
I did.
Is Vox the only person inciting?
No, Hum's going to check him too. His answer was too icy.
mean, if he follows us, then it's his decision, right? We did everything we could to stop him.
Hum gets the impression that he's still he said what he said, and he said it because he knows in a way that Hum is right, but she can tell that he's still roiling with that, and that he might not have actually decided as much as he could in his heart. And I think... Oh, well, Vox's would have been 15. Does Vox have proficiency with insight? She must, yeah.
Yes, she does.
What do you want to do? He leans down to the party. Because most of you are all short now.
It's not our fault. We were just made that way.
Yes, happened. But,
Oh, you kill me today, yes.
if we walk the path we're going and he follows us, he's walking to his death. If he really is as proficient at hiding as he thinks he is, maybe we can send him to one of the temples in hopes he can see him, have his confrontation, but far, far away from us.
Do you think that this is a good idea to bring a boy on a man's job?
The point is...
Kalazan's not a kid. Like, he's an adult. He's an adult, for sure.
I mean, he was leading the protesters way back when.
Yeah, he was.
Maybe he'll surprise us.
I don't care. He's a liability to us. But
He is, and I keep thinking he is a liability, and he's led protests. That's great, but when's the last time he was in real mortal danger?
probably when the town was attacked. But my point is, I don't think him going with us is wise. But we know many, many ways for him to find his father. And we can send him one of those routes.
What is Thaddeus referring to?
If we send him to any one of the temples, he can get to his father. He can get to the Nexus. We don't need to be with him when he gets there. We tell him where to go, how to enter, or how to get to him, and if he dies, he dies. That's his choice.
Wow.
I don't like that idea. So we're gonna send him to his death?
That's pretty cold.
Yeah, I feel like we've divested responsibility already, right? We've told him that he cannot come along with us and we don't want him to follow us.
Great. And if he does and he turns on us, he stabs us in the back when he sees his father and he tries to save him and he sees us attack him. You put him on the fool's errand. That's my choice. But
He dies either way.
yes, but one's less threatening to us.
I say we hand him over to Gordon.
He's done nothing wrong.
I feel like he could still hold him for 24 hours and we'd be out of reach. He would have no idea where we were.
Magic doesn't work that way in my mind, but if you think so.
I assume you guys went like somewhere out of earshot, like outside the restaurant or something?
I was
Yes.
leaning down and like whispering to them, but yeah.
Oh, okay. You made sure to be out of earshot. That's good enough for me.
I'll leave it up to you, but that is a determined individual. If you don't give him something to do, he'll find something to do.
Hum looks at Kalixan and she says, I'm sorry. I feel like you're going to turn on us. I really do. And it's not going to be because you don't understand, but nobody should ever have to see their father battle. Ever.
He looks at Hum and he looks at the party and he just all of this emotion on his face and there's a lot of pain in his eyes. And he fishes in his pocket and he puts 2 gold down on the table and then he stands up and he just storms out of the restaurant.
As he's leaving, I think I can pop one of these real fast.
Oh, one of these real fast. What are we popping? Detect thoughts. Okay. Surface level thoughts. It's a maelstrom. I mean, there isn't even really a clear thought. There's just a lot of roiling imagery and words, and just there's no direction that you can tell from third surface thoughts. So you're gonna try to probe.
Let's go for it.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow. He stops in the middle of the street. Not the middle of the street, but like right outside the door. He turns around. He looks at Thaddeus fiercely, and then... I can understand why you did that. And then he just keeps going.
It's the second time he's beaten that.
Thaddeus finishes his drink.
It is dark now. The stars are out. And, I think that's where we're going to end tonight. We will continue next week. Either
Bye,
with...
Joey.
Either
Oh,
with,
sorry.
I was just going to say, either with Excavators or GTF.
Okay, that's good. Bye, Joy.
Bye, Joy.
Bye, Joy.
Bye, Joy.